So Shabbat Shalom will begin. Sorry, let me fix this. Here we'll begin with Yedid Nefesh. Yedid Nefesh Aparach Lamav V'Shofacha Eretzonach Yavut Amlach Shabbat Shalom and welcome. And so we'll continue as we evoke the Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat, thinking back on our week, that we try to find points of joy and success that we've had, so that as we're able to enter Shabbat as a time of rest and reflection, we're able to enter into it with a sense of joy and accomplishment. So we continue with Lechu Neranena. Lechu Neranena l'Adonai, Ariya v'Tzoyishenu. Lechu Neranena l'Adonai, Ariya v'Tzoyishenu. Nekama chana v'toda, Izmirat Nariya lo. Nekama chana continue with Or Zarua La Tzadik, for saying that light is stored for the righteous, that our actions have lasting consequences, and hope that at least on a small scale, as we're able to treat each other well, that will lead to a future where we treat everyone well. So we continue with Or Zarua. Or Zarua La Tzadik Ulehishrelev Simcha. Or Zarua La Tzadik Ulehishrelev Simcha. Simchu Tzadikim Adonai Vehodu Lezecher Kodsho. Simchu Tzadikim Adonai Vehodu Lezecher Kodsho. We'll continue as we rise for Psalm 29. Mizmor LeDavid, Avu Ladonai B'nei Elim, Avu Ladonai Kavod Va'od, Avu Ladonai Kevod Shemo, Yishachavu Ladonai Adat Kodesh, Kol Adonai Al Hamayim El HaKavod Yirim, Adonai Hayakitem Kemo Eka Lebanon Syrian Kemo Ben Remi Kol Adonai Pote Flavote Kol Adonai Gafil Midbar Gafil Adonai Midbar Kadesh Kol Adonai Kefal Elayalon Hayefeso Ye'avo Uvechalo Kulo Omekavo Adonai Lama Burasha Keshev Adonai Melech Leolam Adonai Yos Le'amo Yitein Adonai Yevarach Shalom. We continue welcoming the presence and peace of Shabbat with Lecha Dodi. Lecha Dodi Mikrat Kala Pene Shabbat Mekabela Shamor Zachor Edibor Echad Mishmianu El HaMeyuchad Adonai Echad U'Shemo Echad L'Shem Tiferet Ve'Litilat Lecha Dodi Mikrat Kala Bene Shabbat Mekabela Mikrat Shabbat Bechol Enechaki Mekor Haberacham Lerosh Mikadem Le'esur Chasod Maseh B'machshavat Chilat Lecha Dodi Mikrat Kala Bene Shabbat Mekabela Mikash Elam Imeluch Atumim Seir ייתן יפרתך מעל יד, פן ישי בית הלך מקורבן, נפשי גאלתך דודי, לקראת עליו, פני שבת נקבלה, מתעוררי גבעה, עורך קומי אורי אורי אורי, שתדברי כבוד, אדוני עלייך נחלתך דודי, לקראת עליו, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת עליו, פני שבת נקבלה, לא תבושי ולא תקרמי, מה תשכחי ומתי מפחך עשו, עניי עמים ונכנתה תהילה, לך דודי לקראת עליו, פני שבת נקבלה, היו עם שיסה שוסייך מרחקו כל, מבלייך יסיס עלייך, אלוהייך ימסוס חלקה, אתן הקלה, לך דודי לקראת עליו, פני שבת נקבלה, ימין ושמאל תפרוסי את אדוני, תריסי על ידי, פרסי ונשמחה ונגילה, לך דודי לקראת עליו, פני שבת נקבלה. It's traditional to rise and face your entrance. Glory to Shalom, Atevah, Kam Besimcha, Udatzala, Tochenu, Segula, Glory Chala, Lecha Dodi, Likrat Kala, Pnei Shabbat Nekabela. We'll now continue with Shalom Rav, our prayer for peace. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech Adon, B'chol HaShalom, Ki ata melech Adon, B'chol HaShalom, Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael, b'chol עת ובכל שעה, בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Wonderful. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining. And so this weekend, something that matters much more for America, which for many Canadians means that we care less about it at this moment, is, of course, the end of the football season with the Super Bowl. And as someone who really has stopped watching football, I really don't have that much care. But having many friends who are, I mean, I'm far from the only one who doesn't care, but having some friends who are such huge sports fans that it always is the question of what happens the day after. Especially for people who go see the game in person, see such a huge spectacle, in New Orleans, so it's going to be one long party. That no matter what, the day after is going to feel like a little bit of a letdown. And, it's the question of then what comes next. That can feel like after such an experience of something so exciting, that you sort of lose sight of what it is to go back to your normal day-to-day life. And so that's something that we can really sense and see in this week's Torah reading. That this week we read Parashat Beshalach, the Torah portion that really describes, or that contains, the defining moment of the Jewish people, which is when we leave slavery in Egypt and cross the sea into freedom. And that, the rabbis, when they talk about this experience, imagine that even the small children who were walking with the Israelites, that what they saw that day was more impressive than any vision of any prophet that came later. But of course, that memory only takes them so far, so that we go from this defining moment of the Jewish experience to perhaps what becomes the defining trait of the Jewish experience, which is complaining. That immediately the Israelites start to complain about the way that there's no water, how they're scared about the food they're going to get, and it's scary. And they complain to Moses, and we see Moses need to respond in a few different ways. But this shows that the memory of that peak experience can only take them so far. And it's true that we're not able to live every single day in these moments of overwhelming peak experiences. And I think in some ways the exhaustion of many of us are feeling right now from watching the news is the way that sort of each headline feels like it's this life-changing thing, and it's exhausting to essentially have so much of this all at once. And so instead, what we need to do is to learn consistency. And that the Torah seems to describe that God wanted to teach the Israelites consistency as they then traveled through the desert. That in providing them food, that God provides it as manna that falls from the sky each day. And it seems to contain, some magical properties that speak to perhaps a way that we, could act differently in the world. The first one is the idea that it was equal. That it was the idea that the amount fell for each person, and that anyone who tried to collect more, when they returned home, saw that it essentially magically became the set amount. And so it was at least in this moment of having this experience of wandering through the desert be a time of equality. But something else is that it was not something that you could keep from day to day. And so, I think first what this is this was trying to teach the Israelites is that, even as they were at this moment of celebrating their freedom, that being free, of being able to choose their own destiny, of being able to be in control of their own self, doesn't mean that they can't seek help from others. And so first, as they wandered through the desert, God was trying to teach that it's okay when we need to depend on others. That in a truly free society, that comes from mutual dependence, where we support each other. But needing that help from others isn't weakness, but actually shows the strength of the community. And that the other thing that we learn from the manna is the attempt of having it be a practice with uncertainty. That living with uncertainty is incredibly difficult. That I know for myself, I'm able to think of everything that can go wrong, every bad possibility, and those can run as a loop inside my head. But what we see is that the Torah is also trying to help the Israelites practice that uncertainty and to find some comfort in it. That the rabbis in the Talmud, in describing the way that there was only enough manna for each and every day, with the double portion for Shabbat, that they talk about the experience. That it's very different to eat a meal when your pantry is then full of food as opposed to when it's empty. You know that even if your meal is the exact same, when you don't know what you're going to have for that next meal, when you don't when you don't have that security of food in your cupboard, when you have that uncertainty of you don't know what comes next, that the food will not be as filling or as satisfying, and that it really was this difficult act of faith for the Israelites to believe that each day the new batch of manna would fall. And so, even as perhaps the experience of Torah is, reveals the fact that the attempt at creating comfort in this uncertainty is impossible, that what we're able to see within this is that reminder that as we live in such a chaotic time, where it feels like everything, where the stakes are so much higher in everything around us, that in some ways we need to then try to recapture that sense of everyday consistency. That even as we need the peak moments that inspire us, that give us the emotional boost of that sense of community, or in some ways those cathartic moments in which we're able to fully express our grief, that more importantly is we need that connective tissue, day to day, when we learn to be dependent on one another, as well as being able to find that strength to face whatever uncertainty comes next. And so with that, I'll wish you a Shabbat Shalom, and as we then continue to have uncertainty about the fate of the remaining hostages, we pray for their safe return as we continue with the prayer, Achenu. Achenu, O Bet Yisrael, Achenu, O Bet Yisrael, Hanetuni Betzara, Betzara Uvashivya, Haondim Ben Bayam, Uven Bayavasha. Amahakom Yerachem, Yerachem, Alechem Eyatzia, Yitzava, Miracha, Umeapel Ameova, Yeshivu, Bigel Hashta, Pagal HaMizman Kalim. So we'll now continue with Misha Berach, our prayer for physical and spiritual healing. Misha Berach, Avotenu, Mekor HaBracha, Leimotenu, may the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach, Imotenu, Mekor HaBracha, Avotenu, bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. This week in our Har El community, we're remembering Gerald Kringle, brother-in-law of Lorna Kringle, Lippa Schultz, father of Sidney Schultz, Becky Ergas, mother of Joseph and Alfred Ergas, Joy Lertzman, wife of Morley Lertzman and mother of Ken Lertzman, David Lior Dadone, brother of Shai Dadone, Linda Kopman, sister of Rod Kopman, Michael Myers, grandfather of Neil Loomer, Irving Makoff, father of Joel Makoff, Nathan Goluboff, father of Richard Goluboff, and Meyer Cohen, brother of Diane Jampolsky. We pray that their memory may be for a blessing. We'll continue by evoking the end of Mourner's Kaddish as a memorial prayer as we sing Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom Lemruma, Uyaseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'avo Yisrael, Ve'imeru, Amen. Uyaseh Shalom, Uyaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'avo Yisrael, Uyaseh Shalom, Uyaseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'ako Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'ako Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'ako Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu ve'ako Yisrael. Ve'imeru, ve'imeru, Amen. So Shabbat Shalom, thank you for joining, whether you're watching on Zoom or watching on YouTube later. And so we'll have services tomorrow at 10 a.m. and after services will be a Kiddush sponsored by Nushin Youssef Zadeh and Jacob Mirage. And then looking further ahead on Sunday, February 9th, the rally to call for the release of the hostages will continue at Vancouver City Hall, as well as we are looking for more drivers to help with the JFS Food Hub. Looking further ahead, so I'm just always trying to do this in the right order. It's surprising, so there's nothing, I guess it's, there's the seniors lunch this Wednesday, but the sign-up ended today. And then, so our next events we'll have our next Kabbalat Shabbat and Moroccan dinner. That'll be Friday, February 21st at 6 p.m. And then, as we transition from the service to the dinner, we'll have a short Tu B'Shvat experience. Tu B'Shvat is this week, but we'll do a short thing before the Shabbat dinner. And then on Sunday, February 23rd at 2 p.m., as part of the JCC Book Festival, we'll be having a reading from Dr. Karen Rashkovsky, a reading from An Improbable Life, My Father's Escape from Soviet Russia, as well as then on Monday, 24th, will be the next, at 7 p.m. on Zoom, will be the next Sisterhood Book Club. Reading cast are The Origins of Our Discontent, moderated by Marilyn Chodum. And then we'll have our next Chalabik on Wednesday, February 26th at 10 a.m. And so, plenty going on. And we'll finish now with just Vishamar, as we didn't want to do two challahs, as I'll have the verse and service later. So we'll continue with Vishamar. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael Shabbat La'asod et ha-Shabbat Le'dorotam be'rit olam Beini u'bemin Yisrael oti le'olam Oti le'olam Oti le'olam Vishamru b'nei Yisrael Shabbat, La'asod et ha-Shabbat, Le'dorotam be'rit olam. Ki shechet yamim asa Adonai, et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz, Vishamru b'nei Yisrael, Shabbat, La'asod et ha-Shabbat, Le'dorotam be'rit olam. Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash, Shabbat vayinafash. Vishamru b'nei Yisrael Shabbat, La'asod et ha-Shabbat, Le'dorotam be'rit olam. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. So Shabbat Shalom, I'll end the live stream and unmute the